Hey everybody, Z Garcia here, and today we're going to be rolling dice, fighting over supremacy, and earning the most victory points in Taiwan Monsters Brawl. In this game, each player has one of these monsters. You are going to be picking the one you want. You are going to be using the grid on your monster to activate various runes, to activate getting more dice, and then rolling dice against your opponents to steal their location, steal their victory points. That's basically what the game is all about. You're going to be playing a number of rounds or to a certain number of victory points, and then whoever has the most points is going to be the winner. So let's go ahead and take a look at how the game works. I'm going to give you a quick overview of a typical round in the game, and then we'll come on back up here. I'll tell you what I think of it. So here we're taking a look at a game already in progress. This is a two-player game with one player over here playing this monster and their board, their special abilities up here. And then the other player right there, this central board is going to house these chi tokens as well as the score track in the game. Now, one fundamental difference between a two-player game and a three- or four-player game. In a two-player game, we are playing to 15 points. That's it. We're going to do that over as many rounds as it takes. In a three- or four-player game, we are playing 3 or 4 rounds, respectively. And then whoever has the most points is simply going to win. So everyone gets to be the first player once, and we stop no matter where the scores are, okay? So this is a game already in progress here. The players have already played a few rounds, and I'm going to simply show you what a round looks like, okay? So every round goes like this. We reveal location cards from the location deck, equal to one more than the number of players. And then starting from the start player, the player who has this card, they're going to select one of these that they would like. So this player is going to take that one. And that player is going to take that one. All right. Now, we'll go ahead and grab the things that we get for choosing that. So that's the first thing. So once you select it, you're going to go down here and select the matching runes. And you will place them on your board. What we're doing over here is creating lines of activation that you can then choose to trigger in order to roll dice against your opponents and knock them out of these locations so that you can score them yourself. So we've got over here a couple of tokens. Some of these, as you can see, have pre-printed types that must be played on there, like that one. Some are blank, and you can put anything you want in there, like that one. Or I can put this one here, like so. And then this one also happens to give me 3 of these tokens, which allow me to activate the special spells in the game. Of which you begin with some, you'll earn more as the game goes on. That player selected 2 of these tokens, and 1 of these tokens, and they will deploy them. You can also choose to not put some out, and simply cash them in, so this player is going to throw one of these back and convert it into one of these tokens for the Chi of Monster tokens, okay? So there we go, that's going to be it. This one can be simply discarded. And we are ready to continue on. The next step, you are going to issue a challenge. The start player will begin. You may issue a challenge. You may refuse to do so. And get a bonus for basically passing, okay? But let's go ahead and show you what that looks like. The first thing I need to do over here is select which of these lines I am going to activate and trigger. So I get 3 dice to begin. 1 of each of the 3 levels. This one's the worst, then that one's slightly better, then that one's slightly better. And it's simply on the number of sides that hit. This is 2 points, or 2 faces that have a point, 3 faces that have a point, and 4. So I'm going to select this line right here. Okay, it has to be a line that is at least 2 spaces long, no holes in it, no empty spaces, like, always empty, like that one's a dead space. And there must be at least 1 face-up rune in that line. So this one qualifies for that. That one's good to go. Whereas this one would not be good to go because that spot's empty, okay? So I'll select that. I can activate these in whatever order I want to. They're very simple. So I get a gray die on top of it. I get a red die on top of that. I flip this one over and I do its ability. And just so you know, the abilities are, you do have a card. Everybody has a card that tells you what the abilities of the runes are. In that case, that one simply gives me 2 more of these Chi of Monster tokens. And then this one is going to allow me to re-roll all the dice once, and I will take the better roll between the two. So there we go. Now I roll these and I see what kind of score I get. Roll that, I have a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4. Pretty good. I could, again, re-roll. I have a 1, a 2, a 3, so my score is 4. It's the better of the two. All right, and now my opponent will respond to that. And they are going to do basically the same thing. They begin with one of each. They activate some line. In this case, they are going to activate, let's say, this one here. Okay, so they will roll. They add 2 black dice to that. These 2, they get a re-roll themselves whenever they want to do it. And this one lets you upgrade a die to the next better step. So they're going to turn one of these black ones into a red one. And then they will roll against my 4. And they've got 1, 2, 3. So that's not quite enough. However, let's go ahead and finish that example so you see what happens. So I won as a challenger. That means I'm going to kick them out of their card. And I am going to score that card. I will get 2 points, all right? 1, 2, like that. If the player I just attacked, however, was the leader, meaning they are the farthest ahead, they're leading in points, I would get a number of bonus points equal to how far ahead in front of me they are, up to 4 points. So let's say these were reversed. They are ahead of me. They are ahead of me 4 points. So I would actually get 1, 2 victory points plus the 4 because they're 4 ahead of me. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? And then they're gone. So that's how that would work. If I fail and instead they beat me, then what happens is I have to move my token halfway off the card, and if I am challenged the rest of this round in a 2-player game, obviously I'm likely to be challenged right back, I am at a -1 penalty. So my score, if this was the roll, would be only 2, not 3, okay? If we are tied, we are simply tied. Nothing happens. So there you go. Once that's done, they get kicked out of here. I got my points. They can challenge me back by, again, selecting a line and doing it all again. That line, for example, they can flip that. They can, do the 2 tokens. The star here is a special ability based on which monster you are playing. So the stars are always different, okay? They're a little bit special. And they fight back. Now, let's say they fight back and they don't succeed in pushing me off of this because I win. Well, then at the end of the round, you score any card you are still on. So if I was able to if I managed to stay on the card, I get 1, 2, 3 because of that card. And then we will discard these, do some cleaning up, which involves getting rid of these runes unless you spend 3 of the chi here to bring it back. Otherwise, you get rid of it, okay? So the cleaning up would happen like so. And we go on to the next round where I pass the start player card to the other player. All right? So that's the general flow. You mix that up by having spells in the game. And the spells you are going to draw from these runes here. You'll also get them for passing sometimes. You'll get them from, well, not passing, but special abilities. Okay, like this character's special ability might give you one. And you can play these largely whenever you want. And they will give you some sort of special ability, all right? So, for example, in this one, if this player had all these dice right before they roll them, I could have spent 2 of these and then played that card that says, somewhat cryptically, but that, you do have a sort of a big play array that breaks down the symbology a little bit for you. Pay 2 of those, and any player gets rid of a red die before they roll. So I would deny them of that. Then they roll. And then they got 3 points, which was still enough to tie me, let's say. Well, then maybe I want to play this one. 1, 2, 3 of these. Any player, -1 point. So they're actually at 2. And maybe they would play something back and say, oh yeah, well, if that's the case, then I'm going to play this one where I spend 3 and I re-roll all my misses. There we go. So now I'm 4. So even if you're denying me 1, I'm still at 3. Etc., etc. So that's how these work, and that's what you need these tokens for, both to keep your runes in play after burning them, and to play the special spell cards there. So that's generally it. That's the flow. Fill up your lines, trigger them, chuck a bunch of dice at your opponent, and they defend, and then they do it back to you. Or again, in a multiplayer game, you pick someone and you attack them, okay? Try to have the most points and you win, or simply get to 15 and you win the game. So there you go. That should give you an idea of how the game works. I am not going to show you all of the, I think there are eight different monsters, all of these spells. I just want to show you more or less how the game flowed, so that you'd have an idea of what's going on. Let's go ahead and go back up top and let me tell you a little bit more about my feelings on the game. That is Taiwan Monsters Brawl. Let's talk about it, all right? Overall, I like this game. I like it pretty well. I thought it was a neat game. It sort of reminded me of other big clashing games like this. Mainly, I guess, King of Tokyo, King of New York. Those kinds of games where everybody has their own entity, some big baddie, and you are clashing against the other players in order to win. I think, generally speaking, these games tend to be a little more straightforward, but they also don't have the cool grid ability in this one. That grid concept of activating a line, filling it up again, activating another line, that's really cool. And it's the main bright spot in this game, I would say. So let's talk about this, all right? I'm just going to work my way down the line here. So the theme, it's bombastic, it's epic, it's very cool. I like it a lot. It's really neat, and it's very well focused too. Something like King of Tokyo is sort of lacks specificity. This one does not, and I like that. The aesthetics are great. Very high quality components. All of the tokens are linen finished cardboard. They're really good. Boards are nice. Cards are great. Lots of truly neat artwork all over the place. I love the illustrations on these characters. So I'm a big fan of it. Again, artwork I tend not to talk about too much because you can make up your own mind about that. But I really like the look of everything here. I think it's captivating. Replay value is good. You have a good amount of monsters. You have a bunch of spells. You're not going to draw all the same ones, of course, every game. Locations are going to come up in a different order. So I think it's not bad. As long as you like the game, I think you will not come back to it hoping to still like it and it fall flat because there isn't replayability. I think the replayability is there. I think if you are content with the game, you enjoy what's going on, you will be able to come back to it and experience a slightly different scenario, let's call it, okay? The game arc is my biggest hit to the game, and that is mainly because the catch-up mechanism in this game is brutal. Like I said, the whole, if you attack the person who's in front and you beat them, you get whatever points you're stealing from their location, plus the difference in points between you and them, up to 4 points. That's a massive swing, generally. So, because of that, the game devolves into hit the leader, right? It's like it's a catch the leader, smack the leader down kind of game. Now, in a two-player game, that won't matter, but it's still really obvious that there's a giant catch-up mechanism. If you fall behind, you're likely to do very well. In fact, I might try to fall behind. About halfway up the track, I could probably steal your location and get 4 points and jump to 15. That's not good. So that's my biggest issue, is the game arc. Sort of the development of the game has that those leaps and bounds don't feel fun, they feel swingy. The ease of play, I'm right down the middle on this one. I think it has good player aids. It has this one with a bunch of the symbology, and it has the other one that tells you what the different runes are, but there are still a lot of little steps in the game. A lot of just moments where you have to remind yourself, okay, now I do this, I pick a line, I activate, I do all the special abilities. At the end of that, I clear off the runes, except I can pay 3 chi tokens to keep a rune, except I cannot pay 3 chi tokens to keep one of these runes. This one always has to go if you flipped it. Little exceptions. There's a decent amount of them. So That's why I'm not super high on the ease of play. And then lastly, tactics and strategy and luck. Like I said, my favorite thing about the game is these grids. That's all tactics, right? I mean, and possibly some strategy, you know, building something up for later when somebody comes at you, you can trigger a great line. I really like that. The numbers are cool on here. They just add to your total. This is where the game's at. This is the game. It's very fun. It's also very lucky. Lots of dice chucking, and you just could, you know, roll a handful of dice and whiff, just completely whiff. It could happen. So again, I'm kind of down the middle on this one because I like what's there, but it's also extremely lucky and not that quick, right? Something like King of Tokyo is really lucky and also moves along at a clip. You grab a bunch of dice, you roll them, you roll some more. This is what happened next. And this one has to, you know, you're dealing with these choices and permutations on those things and interesting ideas, but then at the end of the day, you grab a bunch of dice and roll them, and you failed, okay? Having said all that, though, I like the game, and I am going to rate it a 6 out of 10. I would recommend it. I think it's neat. If you're looking for something like those games, that style of game, this is a good one. It's one that stands apart because of the interesting look, the interesting theme, the interesting mechanisms in it. And I find it, as long as everybody is willing to put in a little bit more work to figure out the steps, to figure out the symbology, all those things, I find it to be interesting and captivating. It's fun. It's neat. If you get into the theme, even more so. So there you go. That's what I think of Taiwan Monsters Brawl. I like it. 6 out of 10 from me. All right, everybody. I am Z Garcia. I want to see you on the next one.